First of all, this is not a second part of the video of why I hate RPG menus in anime. You don't need to watch that video. That was just a personal opinion, to be honest. But this video is what I learned when I worked with that theme. I decided to keep that video as it was. However, I would be lying to you if there were only bad to be covered in this topic. I talked about that in my last video, but I think I wasn't clear enough. So I decided to do this one, exploring the growth of the gaming industry and how it impacted both negatively and positively the anime industry. Mostly fantasy genre, isekai as well. For those who want some history, if you would say that isekai anime started with SAO, you would be wrong. There were a lot of shows with this subgenre way before it, and the work of Reiki Kawahara was just a beacon that made this subgenre popular. However, it was a pioneer by introducing, if you allow me to say, a game-changing decision. SAO gives us game mechanics, usually the RPG ones, HP, abilities, skills, party systems, menus, you know it. And of course, this was to the increased growth of the gaming industry and how for the years of 1999 to 2012, the year which SAO was launched by the way, it was the MMORPG golden era. Not my words, these are from an MMO veteran. Of course, it was just time to an anime taking place in an MMO, but dear god, SAO was big, too much to be true. Isekai. After 2012, it was just more and more isekai coming. You see, SAO wasn't unique in any way. There were others writing the same idea, but with different themes and story. Log Horizon, No Game No Life, and the success of SAO made it so prevalent that there was a flood of isekai light novels with generic male protagonists. It got to a point they started to ban these from all the writing contests. And we also even got our beloved parody isekai, which was Konosuba. They didn't stop coming, and well, 10 years later, here we are with 3 or more isekais in a single season, mostly bad, but we are not here to talk about the isekai itself, but how a lot of them use gaming mechanics instead of the classic magic ones. You see, there were quite a popular subgenre in fantasy besides isekai, that one being Mahouga Quen, also known as Magic School. There were a lot of these shows in the 2010s and some even before. I could tell you how Harry Potter had a lot of influence in this subgenre, but this is not the right video. Focus. We are here for gaming. What you need to know is that a lot of anime fans were used to magic being something from a fantasy world, where you were born with it. And if you really wished or said some magic incantations or had a powerful book, this part depends on the series, voila, you had magic. But there's a catch. If you happen to be a main protagonist, you can ignore a lot of these rules. Your spells are also more powerful, you get a bunch of girls, and you look cool and edgy. Great time. However, anime fans were already starting to feel boring from this. I can't understand it. Like, what is the point of making rules that can be broken by the main protagonist without a single care? It was getting stale. But what if he could break all the rules, not because he was the main character, but he was actually powerful? Well, instead of stronger magic powers, let's call that levels. Yes, instead of being random bullshit, your generic overpowered main protagonist could be the ultimate life form of society, a gamer. You see, gamers are superior. Gamers know how to play games, which isn't that hard, but compared with people that never touch in a controller, they have an unfair advantage, I dare to say. Besides this being a less nonsense reason to make our main protagonist powerful compared to the usual he was born special, the gaming industry was growing a lot and fast. Another long story. Let's just say it was about the time to people grab their phones and become gamers themselves. Not only them, weebs as well. So the target demographic was perfect so that your self-insert protagonist could be the best representation of your average weeb. Now, with a new and better set of rules of how this power works, which are easy to understand, a new subgenre of fantasy anime, and finally, with a great demand for this, it was time for the gaming systems to shine. If you ever played an RPG or an MMO, you know the drill. If you never, lucky bastard. Okay, you have an HP and MP bar representing your health and mana. Your HP bar dictates how much damage you can take before you lose or die if the enemy is about that. The mana bar is usually used for casting spells or using skills, which costs part of it or maybe the entire bar. There's also levels. Defeating monsters or doing various skills will give you experience points. Once gotten enough, you get a level increase, making you stronger. By that I mean doing more damage, having more health and mana, and learning new spells and abilities. Simple to understand once you get used to it, and if you know gaming, which most do, you'll like the reference, so it's not a surprise that it was used without thought in fantasy shows. Inventories, loot systems, special drops, archetype of monsters like undead, slimes, golems, elementals, and also effective elements and weakness like the classic holy magic being stronger against undead or dark monsters. There are a ton of other mechanics and most of them fill a world with content, so the audience doesn't feel like a fantasy world where they know nothing. With these systems, they can relate with this world, since they are now gamers, unfortunately. Your anime watchers now are also playing games on their computers and phones, and honestly, it's fun when you see a mechanic of an RPG being used in a show. This feeling of familiarity with the RPG systems feels good. In gaming might not be a big deal, but anime treat this as such an important thing, to the point that the protagonist only knowing that is a huge advantage for him. But remember, it's a self-insert. By making these simple systems appear to be so important and secret, it appeals to the audience with the same gaming knowledge, making look like if they were in the place of their protagonist, they would be as good or even better than him. But also, there are some complexities here and there to add depth to it. It's the perfect formula and everyone likes it. There's nothing bad about it, right? First is that the essence didn't change. We are still watching a self-insert generic protagonist collect a lot of girls like Pokemon and defeat an evil organization. Because of course there is an evil organization. But hey, they are now in a game and he's a great gamer. As interesting the gaming mechanics can be, it can't fix bad writing. A bad author can even ruin it. It also didn't help that the anime is following the past trash archetypes, like how the girls are cataloged as a tsundere, the little sister, childhood friend, the leader of the student council if they're in a school, each one with a different hair color so you can know and tell the difference. How the protagonist is awesome for being the great guy he is and has the personality of a brat. But hey, this time he is a sage that can summon monsters or whatever is the hook of the to make the story different. But after that, it's the same as every other. Look, as cool as gaming can be, trash fantasy will continue to be trash fantasy. The other problem is the trade-off. A break of immersion. Not saying that all other magic systems were like this, but making magic feel like a living part of the world is fantastic. To see how it impacts people's lives and daily tasks just like we do with science and technology. That maybe behind that magic there's a logic for how it works that we can't understand, but for the people who live there it's just normal. This is such a good experience. I know I'm repeating myself, but I appreciate so much when you discover how something works and have that aha, now it makes sense moment. It is so satisfying. It's not like the convenience of getting all the loot in an inventory or getting stronger by getting experience when you look at your RPG menu. The problem with gaming in fantasy anime is that it's a lot more artificial. You don't have to consider a lot of factors because that's how a game works. Different biomes are separated by levels. The creatures and monsters are there for loot. If you hurt yourself badly, that can be fixed with a potion or a healing spell. There isn't anything that connects things naturally or makes the world seem alive. Every mechanic works by itself. Now listen, by not knowing the numbers, the uncertainty of everything makes you feel like anything could happen. And since characters don't have the gaming conveniences I just mentioned, everything they have to carry needs to be considered. All the wounds will need some time to heal. All the complicated spells and abilities they have to learn will require their effort to memorize. Everything feels way more realistic. It's not a self-fulfilling fantasy role, but a more realistic role. Real ones are not just about the good moments, the bad ones as well. As sour as this sounds. Gaming in anime isn't that bad of a thing. I truly think it's currently being misused for most shows. We don't see anime that use it in a good or maybe unique format. Similar to how No Game No Life did with the 10 rules from Tet, that god from that world. Which by the way was incredible. However, I come to appreciate gaming mechanics, even if I still prefer the immersive experience, and I hope an anime can offer another unique set, or at least not with the horrible writing that has been receiving it from the last decade. Again, I don't like gaming mechanics in anime, but I can understand now why someone would like it, and honestly, it can be fun sometimes.